Well, joining me in the studio is a lawyer and public affairs analyst, Gani Fani. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Good morning.
Nigeria is ranked high amongst countries like Sudan, Yemen in food insecurity. Now, it's a major issue that we have to tackle. First of all, in your perspective, apart from insecurity that has bedeviled the northern part of the country, what is this reason for this?
Well, the same thing we are saying, that is the insecurity. You cannot run away from it. We hear it every day. Farmers being driven away from their farms, people getting apprehensive, intimidation, all sorts of problems confronting agriculture. I grew up as a son of a farmer. It was delightful in those days.
To be in a farm?
Exactly, because
True.
most things, you got them free of charge, and you overeat, so to speak.
Yeah.
Too many things, and you had nature at your beck and call. But these days, when you're approaching the farm, or you hear anything about farming, you get scared. To start with, politics had taken away so many of our youths from the farms. Then the recent happenings in respect of insecurity is another problem that nobody can ever think of going to the farm and coming home alive, which is what government must confront head on.
Okay, but we have states like Benue, Nasarawa, Zamfara, northern part of the country especially, having a lot of food. And like you said, you grew up with agriculture. Agriculture is our mainstay in this country. What are state governments not doing to harness this nature?
We are still saying the same thing. You know what is happening in Benue State?
The insecurity, I know.
The insecurity is there. I think government must go quickly and arrest this trend. And as I said, there had been some problems, even apart from insecurity, that is bedeviling agriculture.
There's a farmer-header clash as one of them as well.
Is one, and it's probably, I would say, it is latest. The one that happened that brought somebody like me to the city is the feeling of my father that, look, as a farmer, what have I achieved? Go and join them in Lagos. Go and get...
Rural-urban migration.
Yes, simply because the government has not deemed it fit to keep the farmers where they are, to keep their children there, and for them to be able to embrace it and see it as a modern way of also existence. It is not only when you work in offices or you work in banks that you should be recognized. Those were the motivation that brought my generation to the urban center.
Well, the president right now is championing the drive for us to produce what we eat. But are we doing that enough?
We are not doing it enough. If you travel from here to Ibadan, from Lagos, or you veer off to Abeokuta from the interchange, Ashagamu end, you will see lush. I always admire seeing green all over the place, lime fallow. These are the kind of things anybody traveling might just see and get inspired by agriculture.
True.
On your left, on your right. But what do we find? They are just there, lime fallow. We have to mechanize farming. We must do something different from the hoe and the cutlass, which ordinarily at the time, even when we were growing up too, it was a burden, so to speak. We never enjoyed it. But then technology has taken over too many things from which I expect this country to benefit from.
So how do we use technology and farming? How do we merge them? How do we merge both so that it can be, the youths can see it as something delightful?
That's what we are saying. The youth today, if you ask them, like my days, if you go to the classroom and the teacher asks you, who wants to become a teacher? You won't see anybody. Who wants to become a doctor? Then who wants to become a lawyer?
Well, the mindset then was that the teacher's reward is in heaven.
If you turn the narration around and you make farming a profession where you can also be seen as successful, you will see that the populace will go there.
We have successful farmers.
Look, on what scale? On what percentage? Would you tell someone today? Someone would prefer to be a PA to a politician than to be a farmer. Not to hear of the man will say, look, a man went to farm yesterday, didn't come back. Those stories, that's what you'll be hearing. So as much as possible, it is the duty of government. I always tell people, besides God is government. And that's the concept of government when you talk of the Leviathan. That's why we surrender everything. So the government is there to champion. If the government goes in the direction of making agriculture attractive, to the extent that you can make a living, like the lawyer, like the doctor,
all right.
Then you don't need to tell anyone.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much for talking to us on this issue.
Thanks indeed.
Tackling insecurity, food insecurity, that is the crux of our discussion now. With me to talk about this is lawyer and public affairs analyst Gani Fani. Good morning, Mr. Fani.
Good morning.
We can relate also for those of us here in down south now with challenges of food security, talking about herdsmen, attacks on farmers, even here in the western region. But what's your perspective to this?
To the issue of...
What's your perspective now to this issue of food insecurity? Is it also a concern even in the north, even in the west?
Of course. If you go to Mile 12 or you go to parts of the southwest, you will see that we no longer plant those crops that usually we took for granted in those days. You now look up to the north for yam, for tomato, for pepper, and so on and so forth.
And at the time, all these things were abundant.
Yes.
In the area.
Yes. In those days, there was nobody looking up to going to Mile 12 or what have you, or expecting trucks coming from the north. But we just felt, it was felt that agriculture at a stage was probably a kind of a calling or a profession for somebody probably whose education has not got to a level or exposure. So, but now that the base of agricultural products is being threatened by the north, and with the kind of population that you have around here, especially in Lagos, you know that is going to be a threat to human existence here. So something has to be done because we have lost momentum here. As I said, the greens around here have not been converted. The younger ones, just conduct an interview, go to the streets, ask them how many of them like farming. They just look at you because the man is looking forward to becoming a PA to a politician.
But isn't the tide changing? You know, the narrative should be changing, or what's your calculation? We've seen the government, also, expressing great interest in diversifying the economy, trying to make agriculture attractive to even the youth.
We saw it as platitudes. I am telling you, practically, people follow things that are too practical. If you want to diversify the economy, what stops you? Look at, just make samples of it. Get some youths working. Get agriculture mechanized. Get agriculture to be rebranded as a profession of successful persons. You will just see droves of young men that will be going to it. But today, you ask somebody, a small boy, ask him whether he wants to be a PA to a politician or to be a farmer. He will just tell you that, look, please, I want to be a PA, quickly.
But talking about government's involvement or government's financing of the agricultural sector to change the tide, how sufficient do you think it's been?
Of course, that is why we talk of the Leviathan in theory. Government is an influencer of a dimension that you can never compare to anything. It's just a policy. I don't say government should be the one that will go and be planting the crops and the rest. We are saying that provide the infrastructure. If you provide the infrastructure for the younger ones, naturally agric will take its pride of place. And then the issue of threat to hunger and the rest of it will be a thing of the past. Because as they say in this part, I'm sorry, be humanity keneba kronushe.
That is it.
In which case, once hunger is out, it is the basic thing Once one guy is out of your problem, the rest is just by the way.
And you know, the beauty of agriculture is, you know, the food chain. It's such a vast industry.
Exactly.
That if you don't have to go to the farms, there are also, you know, other components.
Byproducts of it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But then Nigeria is lacking in industries. We've seen tomato manufacture, tomato processing manufacturers, so to speak, you know, complaining of, you know, we don't have sufficient tomatoes. There's also the issue of, you know, chocolate factories. We have the cocoa industry, but then, so, you know, how critical is this for you?
Do you, for instance, know that this tomato and the rest we are talking about, if we have a means, because there are usually seasons for all of them, inclusive of maize, yam, and all that, what preservation do we have for them? Absolutely not. At a season of the year, you just see all of them flooding everywhere. The same thing is true of oranges.
Now we have a blight, so to speak. Tomatoes are incredible to
exactly.
buy in the
Whereas
market.
In those days, what they did that my father enjoyed from, we had cocoa boards and all that, that were able to collect this thing and then have a way of preserving them, stabilize the price, and make them available year-round. So those are the things, but oil, as they say, has been the doom of this country. Ever since oil was found, and that was the only means everybody was looking at, every other thing became so secondary.
Mr. Fani, let's hope we get our priorities right.
I pray so, because we enjoyed my generation, and I want the coming generation to be better than mine.
Thank you so much for your insights.
My pleasure.